Yeah, we're soul sisters. Together we gon' make sure that you know Jesus. Right now could be your breakthrough. Just come join with us. 'Cause the Spirit might just make you yell out, Lord Jesus. Right here on the Godly View.
Hello.
You can't hear you, sis, Andrea. Your mic's muted. Can you hear us? Is she talking? Hey, sis. Oh, she going in too. She going in too. Can you hear us, sis? There we go. I think we got her. She can hear us. She'll be back on. Family. Hey, family. Hey, Jessica. How you doing?
Hello. Fine. How are you?
Doing good. Listen, you looking lovely in your pink.
Thank you.
How was your Mother's Day?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It
It was
was
good.
calm, and we did stuff Saturday and Sunday, so it
Oh,
was
awesome.
yeah.
How about you, Sister Steph? How was your Mother's Day?
Hey, child, my Mother's Day was beautiful. It was my first Mother's Day. I got to spend the day with my boy, and we had a great time. Cliff had to work, unfortunately, but he gave me my gifts the night before, and it was really beautiful. So thank
Awesome.
y'all for all the love that y'all gave me.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I think we got Sister back. Can you say something? We can see if we can hear you.
Hey,
Yeah,
Big
you're
yes.
good now.
yay.
Love it.
What were you saying though
I was
before?
like, we were kicking things off, sis.
Listen, y'all, we are so excited about being back with you guys on another Saturday, another day that the Lord has made. Hallelujah. This is the Godly View, and when I tell you, I cannot wait to like have these kind of conversations with my sisters on tonight, like the conversation that we gonna be talking about, because it's like girl talk slash woman talk slash godly talk. We're gonna mix it all in together, and we're gonna see how everyone is doing. I am Andrea Lynette Purry. I am your purpose pusher, pushing you into purpose with prayer and information, hailing from the great state of Mississippi by way of California. Yay! And
California.
I am a retired veteran. I served this great country for 18 years, and now I work with the VA on the other side. Come on, somebody,
Yeah.
doing HR. But I am super excited about what we have to share with you tonight, and we're going to let one of my other sisters introduce themselves.
Awesome. I guess I will go in and jump on in there. Hey, family. Hey, sisters. Hey, Godly viewers, our fan base, our family. I'm excited to be here on this evening, like our sister said, sharing with you all and just chiming in on all this good dialogue. There's some amazing things that you have to look forward to in this show, and so I'm just excited to be here as always, as we all are. And so I'm Janie Lamb, and I am your Kingdom Business Coach slash many other things. But I'm excited always to share in on this platform and just to be able to be a part of what God is doing amongst our sisters and just amongst the world, to be honest, because God has given us a voice and a platform to be able to share in on so many different things. And this is a good space. It's a good space to be able to chime in and let the world know what God be about and these up in these online streets and all these topics that be going on. So welcome, family. I'll pass it over.
Jessica.
I'll go next. Okay. So I'm Jessica, your neighborhood therapist. Again, as both my sisters said before, glad to be back again. I think we're gonna have a great show tonight. Our topic have just talking about hot topics tonight. And it's always good when we can have some this girl time and have some good conversation and talk about things that are going on in the world, but also give a godly view to it, godly spin to it. Well, not a spin, but say what the Lord also says about certain things that are going on, and hopefully just be able to shed some new light, or maybe make people think about things in a different manner. So, yeah, ready for a great show.
Yeah, Pastor Greg, you already introduced yourself, right?
Not quite. I came on and was talking about how I was having fun with Alonzo on Mother's Day, but this is
Okay.
Stephanie Sonia, aka Pastor Greer. I am a wife and a mother. Those are my two most important, my two favorite roles on this earth. God has also gifted me to be a gospel songwriter and producer. I do graphic design as well. I do, reels and all different sorts of things. I'm grateful for what God is doing. I'm grateful for my husband, the Clifford William Greer II, and for my beautiful son, Alonzo Eugene Greer, aka Gene, on the scene. Uh, this show is gonna be really nice. We love talking to y'all and talking to each other, and we love the interaction in the comments. And I just want to say shout out to me because I was actually able to do my nails today.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
nice.
little press on glue on situation.
So,
Listen, the brush on glue is where it's at.
yes, it is.
Because growing up we had the
Acrylics, yeah.
oh, we had to make sure that the glue was just right. Girl, now you can just brush it on. And I got these nails from the Dollar Tree. So
The brush on.
Listen, those press on nails is coming up in the world nowadays.
yeah, balling and bougie on the budget. So
Right, who got,
Come
who
on,
got
ballin'
$70
bougie on the
to
butt.
pay for nails?
yes.
Love
So
it.
yeah, looking forward to the show.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We do have a main topic as well that we're going to talk about postpartum, and we're going to talk about mental health because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. But before we do that, we're going to jump on into the hot topics. And I think the first one that I want to talk about, the one that I was like, yeah, I think I got a lot to say about this one, is the one with Brian McKnight and his kids. And if you haven't heard or if you haven't seen the headlines, if you haven't seen any of the conversations that's going on, basically it's like his kids are feeling some type of way because of the post that he has been doing for his stepchildren. And then he recently had another son and he named that son Brian McKnight, as well as he already had a son that was named Brian McKnight. Now, I have my uncle. He has two sons named Byron, but their name is spelled different. Like one of them is Birn and one of them is Byrn. So it's a little differentiation. But
Yeah.
with this situation, it's the same name passed down. And then he even spoke out on it and said that this is the one that's going to carry his legacy. And he took his other children off of his will. So, what say ye, my Godly View sisters, about this situation? I'm gonna let y'all go ahead. Then I'm
I
gonna
saw his post addressing people about what he had posted. Now I haven't seen every post leading up to that, but in just listening him to address, like, he's like, stop coming at my wife, stop coming at my kids, and I can understand that, right? Your problems with me, not them. They didn't have anything to do in this. But for him, the way he addressed it, it very much so felt like I'm leaving these other kids out. And he said, I remember him saying that I only post about the children who I have a relationship with.
Mm.
So in my eyes, as a parent, as an adult, it's not your children's priority. It's not your children's place to be the one to initiate a relationship. It's the adults. You are the adult. That's when you say, I'm the parent, listen to me, right? That's the part of that I agree with, is that you are the parent. You are the one supposed to reach out and have a relationship, right? And now kids are going to test you. If you're not present with them, they might test you, they might push back, they might whatever. But if you truly want to have a relationship with them, you being the adult, that is what you should push for. But I think he was wrong for, I won't say wrong. I don't think it was in good taste of him to point out that to the world that I don't have a relationship with these kids, so I don't want to brag on them. I don't, as a man, I think that was in poor taste. So that's my thoughts.
Well, I guess I'll chime in on this because I'm not gonna lie. This was a whole topic that kind of sat really heavy with me because anybody who knows me, and not heavy in an emotionally tied way, because it's not that in this life, you know, things happen in the industry. But I'm talking about because anybody who knows me, my sisters, my family, they know that I am a Brian McKnight fan. Like of all the music artists, like over the years, Brian, like if I were to ever highlight a favorite R&B male artist, it would usually be Brian McKnight because I love his catalog of music, right? And so to see this story come out, it was like, really, Brian, after all these years, you don't drop the ball like this, you know, like really. And so it was really like a womp 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 for me when I saw this story, you know, break and then just all the chatter behind it because I agree with, you know, everybody that I've seen talking about it as of right now, that to me it's like a big to me I think it was a big fail on his end, you know, as the parent, as you know, just being in this situation. Like it was really bad. I'm just shocked, you know, because even seeing some of his posts and the responses and so forth, you know, it just kind of sits with me like he doesn't have a heart. That's just how it comes off. And I'm not saying it like he's the most cruelest, meanest man in the world. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking about when it comes down to, and of course I don't have children, so I can't speak 100% from a parent's perspective, if I could say. However, just, you know, even being somebody's child, you know, you know that, you know, even the Bible says, you know, train a child up in the way it should go, you know. And so to me, for you to feel justified in setting the narrative and governing yourself like this here because you're stating that you don't have a relationship with your children, you know, to me, I think it's almost like a thing. You point fingers, you got how many pointing back at you. To me, this is you're thinking you're talking about your kids or pointing out the flaws that they may have or the strange situations that they might be doing. But what have you been doing over? That's why it's a hard situation. We got people that's in the industry and how their parenting can be impacted because it's like you know, you're faulting them for maybe being entitled or whatever his excuses might be. But you know, it takes two to make a thing go wrong. You know what I'm saying? And especially in a situation like this, you know, like I don't feel as if his children are, and even I can't say I know all the stories, but I don't feel as if, you know, just with the bit that we know, it's impossible for it to be just the children's fault or just them, you know, because at the end of the day, where's the parents' heart at? You know, that's my thing. That's why I said he feels like it's a cold-hearted thing. Because I heard him say in one of the statements, he was like, those children, those kids. And I'm like, whoa, it just sits with you in a whole different way. It's like, ooh, the savageness, you know? You just cannot be considerate of a person if you feel that way, you know? I mean, there's some people in this world deal with some heavy stuff from their kids. And even I've heard people deal with much worse than this, and they don't even refer to it as those kids, you know? It's like, is it really that serious, you know? So it says a lot about him. And I hate to say it, but it is what it is. It says a lot about the lady that he's married to as well, because I know if I was married to a man, there is no way in the world I could be married to somebody and you handle your children any kind of way, or you handle your, you know, no. And so I think this was a tremendous drop of the ball, primarily on his end, you know. And I think that, you know, it behooves all of them, you know, because they are adults now to try to mend the matter, to mend the situation. But I'm not gonna lie, me personally, I think he should be the person to step up and initiate that, you know, and stop trying to be so, you know, so self-righteous in this situation, you know, like he's done no wrong, you know. I'm just the innocent old good Brand Brian, you know. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in my boy. Disappointed.
Pastor Seth, did you want to say something?
Yes, I definitely share the sentiments of my sisters, everything that's been said. I definitely want to go to the word on this one, because of course there's always the scripture of honor thy mother and thy father, that your days may be long upon the earth. There's a promise attached to that charge from the Lord. And also, it won't be but, because but cancels out everything that was said before. Then we're going to say, and also, Ephesians 6:4, the King James Version. I'm going to read the King James Version and the Amplified. The King James Version says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And the Amplified says, because the Amplified amplifies, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. Do not exasperate them to the point of resentment with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive, nor by showing favoritism or indifference to any of them, but bring them up tenderly with loving kindness in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Now, we don't know the total ins and outs of what his presence was like in their lives when they were children. But we can imagine that there were spots and times where he was not present. And I don't care how old you get, you remember when your parent wasn't there. You remember what your parent wasn't available for. So even before they became adults, I'm sure there was some feeling there of, wow, he's doing this, he's doing that, because we know he was very popular in the 90s, very successful, touring and all these different things going on. So you can imagine that there were some pockets of time where there was, presence lacking. When it gets to the point where your children are adults and then you bring in, there are other children that come into the picture. There are stepchildren, there are children that you have with the person that you're married to. It is your responsibility, like it was said, it is your responsibility to navigate that, because I hate when, and not all men do this, but I hate when there are times where a man will have children with one or two other women or several women or whatever, and then he marries someone with children. He treats those children with the utmost respect and the utmost love and the utmost care, and then he has a biological child with that woman, with the wife, and all of a sudden this child is the golden child. This child is, and it's, as a parent, it's like, it's hard to understand how a parent could allow such dynamic to take place. And like, of course, we don't know all the ins and outs. We're just operating based off of what we've been able to pile together from what we have read and seen videos about and heard him speak about. It is the parent's responsibility to navigate that. It is. And they, well, this is who I chose and this is who I love. Yes, that's who you chose, not your children. So your children don't necessarily have to, fall in love with this person like you did, but it's your responsibility to navigate and to facilitate and to bring everybody together, and this was something we didn't even get a chance to talk to in the chat, but being very mindful, as for the men, this should be something that they pay attention to, being very mindful of where they lay their seed, because getting into relationship after relationship after relationship, or getting with person after person after person, and creating different children in different households, we're not talking about purposely like Nick Cannon and several others. They're like, oh, I'm just spreading my seed all over. No, we're talking about, life changes and different things. Where you lay your seed matters. Who you plant your seed inside of matters. Who you have children with matters. And, that's the basis of these types of problems, because, those types of guys tend to complain about, oh, my baby mama tripping, and then my baby mama don't like my wife, and my ex-girlfriend don't like my wife, and my baby mama don't like my ex. Well, sir, you are the common denominator in the situation. So you would think that you would make it your business, as much as you complain about these women not liking each other, or the kids not liking the wife, and the wife not, you would think you would put that much or more energy into saying, well, what can I do to facilitate making things better? Because some of those guys feed into that, because they're like, they're like, I'm the big daddy, I'm the one, everybody's clamoring to be in my life. Everybody's clamoring to be around me. So there's so many different layers and elements and assumptions, of course, that can be made, because we don't live with them. We don't know them personally, but we really, as parents, we have a responsibility to make sure that our children are okay, even as adults. You never stop being a parent. Your children stop being minors once they reach a certain age, but you never stop being a parent. So
If I can just chime in, one other thing to add on to just piggyback on what we've been saying about this stuff with Brian is that, and this kind of ties into what you were just saying, Steph, is because at the end of the day, with that responsibility falling with Brian, it's confusing to me because not only should the responsibility of trying to step out and mend things, he should take that initiative, but it's almost as though with the things that I've been seeing him say and or do, and I can't say 100% what his intentions or what his motives are in how he's been posting or engaging with this situation, but it almost seems or feels a little vindictive. You know what I'm saying? Like he's doing little underlying, like it's almost like, you know what I'm saying, like why would you intend, and that's another thing that kind of is rubbing me wrong about this situation. It's like, okay, it's one thing that it's a broken relationship between you all, right? But why do you now need to agitate the situation and do things that could potentially trigger the situation or potentially cause further damage or further divide or further hurt in the craziness of what all's taking place? Like it doesn't, even if you do feel wrong, and let's just say, knock on wood, you're justified and right. And not saying he is, because like I said, I don't know all the specific details, but not saying he is justified, but let's just say he was fully justified. Even in a situation to where he was fully justified in whatever his actions or his beliefs might be and how he's handling this, why the nasty undertones to how you're handling the situation? Because two wrongs don't make a right. Like you still don't have to, even if your children were off the chain, even if they were doing something crazy, if they were, doing just off the wall stuff, like as the father, why not? Where does the unconditional love come in at? You know what I'm saying? Like I forget who I heard say it, but they made the statement that they said they made the statement that they were turned off about the situation from the jump, because I think Brian McKnight, one of the things he shared was about the lawsuit with his daughter. And the thing was, is like, okay, in that instance, like, why is there even a lawsuit? Like this is your child. Why if it's something like, and of course I don't know that he didn't get into the full details, the legalities of that situation and what was justified and who it was do what or whatever the case may be. But this is your child. Why do you even feel the need to have to take them to court to all behind obviously something that's money related? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference in thoughts and how they should be governed the situation, and there's money involved, But this is your child. You mean to tell me that y'all can't reason, or y'all can't, what I'm saying, come to the table and try to have some sort of a fair discussion on what is honestly supposed to take place in this situation? You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to, like, why make it even extra messy? You know what I'm saying? Which some of the things he's done is like, okay, you adding fuel onto the fire, like just, it's crazy.
You making the flame go up.
Yeah.
It's like, stop talking, stop doing all of these videos where you're explaining that you don't want people to do this and you don't want them to do that, and you're like, stop, because you're making the situation worse every time. Unless you're coming on here to do an apology video to your children and to thank the mothers of your children for having them and really appreciate having a lineage, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be, you cannot disrespect something that you want value from. So if you want value to come from something, if you want positivity to come from something, you can't keep disrespecting it and keep continuing in this narrative of whether they did something that you didn't like or whether they did. But you know the conversation you had with them. You know how you feel. You know what you want to happen in your family. Now, as a father, instead of continuing to push these different agendas with these other children, mend the family. Do what's right. Yes. Do kids mess up? Yes. Do kids squander money? Yes. Do kids have this entitlement? Yes. But they still yours. Nothing can negate, nothing that you do, nothing, you not posting them doesn't negate the fact that they're yours. You not putting them in your will, it doesn't change that these are your children. And instead of you looking at the hurt that they caused you to the place where you got to where you are today, I feel like you should look at where you have been in your life. and what you have done, and take ownership and accountability as a father, and father your grown, your middle age, your little baby, father all of them. Because we are living, I'm gonna let you go. We are living
No,
in a day that there is so much emphasis on people who aren't fathering, and you're trying to do that. And I can see, Brian McKnight, I know you, I don't know if you're gonna hear this or not, but I can see that sometimes you do be trying to father. I can see that because in 2019 you did have your boys with you. You did have, you know, the younger Brian with you. You did have the other ones on the road with you. You were trying to teach them the ropes. I don't know what happened from 2019 to 2023, but something happened. And that's the place that instead of you doing what you're doing, talking to us, talk to your kids.
yeah. I think you made a good point. I think a lot of this it sounds like a lot of this stems from some type of unforgiveness of something, and I think you made a good point when you said that the way they made you feel. So now, because you are in an uncomfortable place of maybe you feel what they said to you might have been true and it hurt your feelings to the point where I think sometimes, as adults, as parents, if you haven't been involved, if the child, like you say, you may, I provide for the child. Even though I'm not physically present, I provide for them. They know I love them, whatever. But when they tell you they don't feel loved, then your feelings are hurt. So, it's not unnormal for parents to retaliate towards their kids. And so, and then with them being older, you may feel more justified than if they were 5, right? But you feel justified now that they're an adult. So out of your hurt, instead of addressing it or coming to terms with, okay, yeah, I might have done that. What they're saying to me, although it's their perception, it's real to them. How can we work on it? Like you said, now, like you said, you're fueling the fire because of my hurt, right? Instead of listening to your child and saying, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm here now. How can we work on it? You're taking your hurt because you're hurt. So I'm taking my love away, you know? And I think that's the part. And I want to say his family, we see that in a lot of families, right? That's how they operate. If you don't do what makes me feel loved, I'm not going to keep loving you. I'm going to take my love away.
It's conditional, and that's not
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Our love as believers, as Christian people, and we're given the godly perspective, our love is unconditional because the Father's love is unconditional towards us. We mess up. We are not going to always get it right. And we need the grace. We need the mercy on both ends. The children need to show grace and mercy, and the parent needs to show grace and mercy. Both ends, like I said, both people, we both have to take accountability as a child and as a parent. But the thing that you said that I'm like, yes, a lot of parents do that, but that's not right. You're not supposed to be retaliating to get to kids.
No.
Like,
No.
we see that so much though.
Mhm.
We listen. If you want to talk about some hot topics, we can talk about. That's a lot of hot topics. But another thing you said was we see it a lot in the media. Now I didn't see it so much, but when we were talking and discussing, we were talking about Steve Harvey as well. We were talking about what he said on the show about women bringing they don't have to bring nothing to the table, basically what he said. And he was like, man, what are you bringing to the table? And you like, Drea, how did you through that twist and turn like that? So as I was thinking about this topic and then thinking about what Steve Harvey said, it's like, has there been a misconstrued dynamic in relationships where we're looking for something from another person, whether it's the child parent relationship, whether it's the wife husband relationship, whatever it is, because we have some unhealed or unmet needs, because we're looking and searching for something? Is it us trying to fill a void? And I think even with the hot topic about Gabrielle Union, doing the 50-50, I think in all of these different situations, we can see a common thread, and we can see that there is a lack of understanding on our part, because A lot of times we don't have the full story. And then sometimes we pick out what we don't like about certain issues and we magnify them. That's going to the Gabrielle Union 50-50. Because if that's what working in their household, that's what working in their household. And with the Steve Harvey, I think he brought out a good thing. And I know I'm kind of tying them both together because I wanted to get them both in real quick. But with the Steve Harvey, it's like he made a good point as well. But I feel like in this day and age, with Black women being the number one owner of degree holders, number one in business and entrepreneur, number one in corporate America, and head staffing, Black women and women in general are turning pages daily. So we don't gotta, to me, it's not a question of what they bring to the table because they bring in a lot. So his question to the men, to me, was something that a lot of times we don't see in media where, okay, men, what you bringing? Okay, so I gave y'all two. So, we're going to toss it up and then we're going to go to our main topic.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting what Steve Harvey said as well. Here's the thing. If you've ever gone to any sort of event, any sort of party where everybody's bringing something, everybody's bringing something. Somebody's bringing the mac and cheese. Somebody's bringing the collard greens. Somebody's bringing the Publix chicken, shameless plug, because, my hubby, I'm a Publix wife, so I'm talking about Publix. Somebody's bringing the soda. Somebody's bringing the red Solo cups. Somebody's bringing the ice. You have all this stuff, you don't have the ice, it's going to be a problem. You have all this stuff, you ain't got nothing to drink, it's going to be a problem. You have something to drink, but nothing to put it in, it's going to be a problem. So everybody has to bring something to the table. It's not just about who is bringing the thing that's the most value. Because let me tell you something, even though the chicken costs more than those cups, I bet you're going to miss those cups if you don't have them. I bet you're going to miss the plates if you don't have them. What we're going to put the food on. We have all the food. We have everything of substance, but we're missing the minor details. See, that's what a lot of people get into, where they broad stroke everything and they don't focus on the details. And it's like those cups, those plates, the ice, those things are needed as well. Those things should be valued as well. And it's not just about who's bringing the big ticket items, who's bringing the liquor, for those of us that, partake in, who's bringing the wine. Okay. But it's like there has to be value in everything that's brought. And as far as like the 50-50 thing, it's like everybody's 50-50. First of all, I think it should be 100-100. We can't do no halfsies around here. It has to be 100-100.
Sis, you talk about splitting bills though, so you can't be 100-100 with splitting bills.
Yeah, well, with effort. With coming together and deciding who is going to pay and who's going to do what. Because even with that, some people don't have the mindset to even want to have that conversation. They're just like, oh, we'll figure it out after we get married. Mm-hmm. No, you need to figure it out before you get married. Figure it out before you build a household with someone. 100 is about the effort, not just the duty. It's about, okay, I'm coming to the table with conversation, and I'm coming to the conversation with a plan. A lot of people don't want to have a plan because plans require time, sitting your behind down and thinking. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to do. They don't want to think. They don't want to plan. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble, where they are broad stroking everything and think, well, we have this and this, so let's go. It's like, no, because the word says it's the small foxes that destroy the vine. It's those small details, quote unquote, small details. Okay, you're coming to the household and you paid your own bills, and this person comes in, they're paying their own bills, and you come together because you're used to things being paid. Okay, well, if nobody sets the account up for anything to be done, then the bills don't get paid. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the assets in the world, but if they're not properly allocated, nothing gets done. So I think for me, what sticks out in those two situations is the details It's all about the details. It's about the details and the effort, because you can have everything and be doing nothing with it. We all know somebody that has a lot of money but don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to budget. They don't know how to, and it's not that they're in debt or broke or anything. They just have a lot of surplus, but they don't know how to invest it. They don't know what to put it into. They don't know. And you sitting there like, Lord, if I had half of what they had, I would be doing this and I'd be doing that. And I'd be calling this person and setting this up. So we gotta pay attention to those quote unquote minor details.
It goes back to what you said about the substance with the, the potluck. What you bring in? We need the cups, we need the plates, and we need the food. But it was something else that I wanted to bring out is in the 50-50 conversation, like when she was talking, she was coming from a place of scarcity mindset. And she was saying how, like, sometimes she'd be like, am I going to get this next job? Am I going to get this next? Because right now, I'm not head of household anymore. In her past relationship, she had to be head of household. She had to do everything. But in this relationship, they split everything 50-50. And they do take care of other people too. So she's like, well, if I don't do this job, this person ain't going to eat. And if I don't do this, this is not going to happen. But she said coming out of the scarcity mindset with a lot of, I think Black people have had, probably a lot of other minorities too, but I can speak from, from where we are, because we didn't have it. When we get, it's like, I want to keep, and I got to keep going, and I got to keep doing, and I got to keep. But the thing that I want to bring out is the power of partnership. There's a place when in your marriage and in your relationship where you get to the point, and with God, come on somebody, with God, there's a trust that he eliminates scarcity mindset, and he opens you up unto abundance. And it ain't about what you make, it ain't about what you do, it ain't about how you do it, but it's about what he could do. And how he provides. And even in a relationship, it's about, okay, we both know we got each other back. We both know that there's no crumbs getting left. There's nothing going to fall to the floor because I got this side, you got this side, God got this side, Holy Spirit got this side. And we coming together and we're a team. But that's the power of partnership. I know, Janine, you're going to say something.
Yeah, no, I just piggybacking on everything that you all have said. Now, this might backtrack to Steph's comment a little bit, and even though it might be a slightly different perspective, but it's interesting how you broke down your thought process behind the 100%, the effort and so forth that's being put into everything and whatnot. But I'm not gonna lie, like this has always been an interesting topic. The whole thing, because like you said, the thing that Steve Harvey said and what Gabrielle Union has been dealing with her situation with the whole 50-50, even though they're similar topics, if you could say, but they are interestingly different sides of the spectrum. Because if you're the person that has the thought process like, okay, men don't need to be asking women what they bring to the table, then you might be the one that's kind of erring to the side that men needs to carry the bulk of the load, right? That they don't need to be concerned about what the woman is doing in the picture, right? Obviously, that's not how Gabrielle Union and them householders ran, because like she said, they do 50-50, right? But this kind of, like I said, kind of piggybacks on what you were saying, stuff, because I know, and this has just always been my thought process, is, and it does kind of, even though I understand what was being said as far as then, I don't know, I guess that's a tricky thing, I guess, how to position. I'm trying to think of how to describe it, because I have always viewed it in my mind like 100% from both sides. But the reason why I think of it that way, though, is more so like when it comes down to relationships or marriage or partnerships or whatnot, like, especially specifically marriage, when you're coming into the table, we're all supposed to be becoming one. And I saw somewhere on one of these posts that was talking about this topic, and I was shocked to see somebody say it in the comments, because I've not heard a lot of people say it in these very different spaces in these conversations, that we're supposed to be becoming one. But interestingly, we always talk about becoming one in everything but finances. Like every time when people get married and they talk about relationships, you hear people talk about how the narrative looks with everybody becoming one, except for in finances, because in finances, you always hear the conversation of his, hers, me, him, what she doing, instead of it being some sort of a merged concept. And I've never understood that, because I've always told myself, because of how that can be such a touchy topic, just generally in life, finances and marriage and relationships. I vowed, I said, God, listen, if they're gonna be like, well, there's one thing that I do not want to have to let be an argument point in my household. I do not want to have to, when that time comes, I do not want to have to make finances an issue, because I don't look at it like, okay, who's paying this bill? And this is what the gentleman on the comment that I saw, and I was like, oh wow, somebody else thinks this, said this, or made this point. Like, why is it that we can't, like, just generally, couples, when they come together, why is it that it can't be a thing of the money coming together? It's not a your income, your money, my income, my money. 100% of my income, 100% of your income goes to the needs of the household, whatever that might be. Now, when it comes down to the specifics of how that's facilitated and managed, it might look different, because I know some people like, let's put it all in one pot. Some people like, no, we're not going to put it all in one pot. We're going to put a pot here and put your pot and mine. So there might be different ways in how you manage it, but conceptually, it's not a you, me, you taking this, I'm taking that, what I'm saying? To me, it should be just okay, no, we're coming together both equally to handle this. And to me, I think that's different from 50-50 though. Even though we're coming together equally, we're just all in. That's my thought. It's like, it's not a matter about, okay, I'm going to take a portion of mine and you taking a portion you're doing. No, I'm contributing my all, you're contributing your all, to make sure that we're all good. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thought process. And so, what I'm saying? Because I don't see why it should be an issue of, oh, she paying more bills, or oh, he paying more bills. Like, y'all both bringing money, especially if y'all both collectively have the money to take care of the household. I'm never gonna argue with him like, oh, I'm paying more this here, or you should be paying more. When it's all, if it's all going to the same purpose, then why is that an argument? You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes people create struggles for themselves in that area unnecessarily, because when the money is there in the household to be able to take care of a bill, be it from whomever, because we're one, from us, you know what I'm saying, then we should be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's an argument. I think that has been going on for generations. That now I will say, just, and I'll wrap this up because I see y'all, my other sister's about to say something, but I will say that I do understand the desire. Specifically, you see this with women, but I'm not gonna lie, I think men sometimes potentially may have it, sometimes too, I'm not sure. But I know women usually do have that desire to want to have security in their relationship, financial security. And so I know sometimes the desire for the man to carry the load does come from that space, to say, listen, you're the head, you're the leader. I want to be secure no matter what's going on here. And but I do think that a man can carry that posture and have that mindset and have that ambition and drive despite what he's financially bringing. Because even if he's not the main breadwinner in the household, he could still, as the man, say, listen, I'm going to always make sure for my family. So even though I might not be the breadwinner, guess what? If something happens and we need, I'm going to make sure, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to make sure whatever takes place to get it done, So I think it's just it's interesting imbalances in how these conversations always take place,
Sorry.
One thing.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I just wanted to say to the comment you made about bringing it all together. Like, I think Andrea answered that in the first thing. Well, to me, that she's talked about having the scarcity, poverty, lack mindset, whichever you want to call it. But I think that the reason why people have trouble just saying like, okay, we're bringing our funds together, it's our funds, is because what mindset did they already hold about money before they came in? They might have been a mismanager of their funds, so they want to hold on to everything. Or if they see you have more money, they're like, well, I don't, I want to have that amount of money, kind of thing. So I think it just depends upon the mindset you have about money before you come in. And it sounds to me, when I was listening to Gabrielle, she was talking about, I have to slow myself down and remember that my gift will make room for me, basically. It's going to happen, and so to me, she was giving her insecurity and saying that, look, I have this insecurity, but I know on the inside, I know it's going to happen. Right. But her upbringing might have put that lack of poverty mindset in her. And so now she's battling that. But it sounds like she has a good foundation with her husband. I think the 50-50 comes from because we're taking care of so many people, and so making sure that everybody is going to be okay with what we make. That's all.
Yes. Talk about rounding out the conversation. I love it when the neighborhood therapist comes on in with her point of view. Listen, we're going to do like a swift little pivot, little boop, 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 boop. So our topic, for this show is mental health awareness. And we're also talking about postpartum. And I think in order to get this conversation started, I do want to kind of merge and collide what we have been talking about, because I think so many times in the mental health conversations, we don't talk about certain things like anxiety. We don't really hit on people in the church having anxiety, people in church, experiencing depression and experiencing certain things, and they still love God, and they still read their word, and they still pray. But there is a chemical imbalance that is not just curable through prayer, but sometimes they may need some medicine. Now, I know we don't have that much time, but I did want to pose this question to you guys as we dive into this topic is how, when you were growing up, how was mental health taught to you in the church? Or was it?
I can honestly say, in my growing up, I have never, actually, I take that back. 2 Sundays ago, because it's May is Mental Health Awareness Month, the AKAs of the church, I have a lot of AKAs in my church, they put together, is one of their initiatives, they put together a basket of information and resources for mental health. And we've done mental health facts a couple times throughout the year about different things, especially like in February for Black History Month. We did some mental health facts for a week at church that week. But that was honestly, I'm 36. So that was honestly out of my 36 years of growing up that I remember. Now, okay, this is me remembering, all right, that there haven't been any topics of mental health in church, especially the Black church. I did go to a bigger church when I was younger, but even there, I don't ever remember in my youth groups ever talking about mental health.
I got one more question that I want to add in with that, and it is, how can we bring mental health awareness to the church?
Okay, so piggyback off that, I think part of it is just being able to be open and transparent and not feeling you're going to have backlash or people are going to look at you funny, or just creating a safe space for people to feel like, if I'm telling you that my mental health ain't right, like I've been having these thoughts of, well, I want to hurt myself, or, because talking about suicide doesn't make somebody suicide, right? And that's what they call it, make somebody suicide. It does not create an increase of suicide. But even just, just feeling safe, especially in the Black church, of saying that I'm having these struggles, and not, people aren't going to like look down on you or avoid you, right? They may not say anything to you, but they might avoid you because they're like, I don't want to deal with that, And so understanding is, what, if we would educate ourselves on what mental health is and understand that people dealing with it, they're just like you and me, and they're not weird. They may have some side effects of their mental health that might seem weird, but understanding that some things they can't help, but that doesn't make them a bad person or somebody you should stay away from. That should even more make you go towards them, because they're probably being shunned in other places.
I'm a piggyback on what you said, Jessica, because and to even highlight one of the statements you said about the whole, just if we would educate ourselves. And I think from the church's perspective, because I know I'm similar to you. When I was coming up in the church, no conversation or discussion or anything about it at all. And that's I will say I do think the overall the church, though still growing in that area, we are doing better only because I believe the topics are now more talked about. It's more just, it's just from a general perspective abroad. And so I think that we're doing better, but I think that we need to start creating more spaces for, like you said, those educational environments, because it's unfortunately, I know in the past, like in my days growing up, the church, it's one of those type of things you over spiritualize everything, and it's like it's always the spiritual side, and it's never the more practical, real life reality side of things. And I think that if we move into the modern days, if we kind of just start to have more spaces to discuss what it is, what it looks like, to understand it, what I'm saying, in this various different angles, I think that'll start to kind of bridge the gaps with us, just being able to properly handle it, address it, and so forth. So, and like I said, I will say that I have seen that happening more nowadays. I can't say I've been seeing it 100%. I have been seeing it more in the church, but it can still be, like I said, we're steadily growing, because you can see it even more, But I will say, I just from what I've seen an increase in churches addressing things nowadays, and because back in the days it was nothing. I ain't never heard of no spiritual, no mental, what I'm saying, back in my young days. It was all, listen, prayer, demonic possession, what I'm saying. If you had a mental problem, you was possessed. If you let them tell it, folks, back in the days tell the story, But and it's levels to it, I don't want to make it natural, so natural to where you're not being mindful of the spiritual side too. I think it needs a balance, We need to acknowledge what's taking place in the spiritual realm, but we need to also be mindful of what's taking place from a natural perspective, and address it all. You know what I'm saying? Not just be so spiritual, but not be so, balanced. We need balance in those spaces so that we can make sure we're, being seeing some wholeness, seeing some wholeness. Jesus in therapy. Jesus in therapy.
Pastor Greer, what about you?
Well, the short answer to the first question is I didn't grow up in church. So there was I attended church here and there, a few times a year, but I didn't grow up in church. So I didn't know what the conversation was back in the 90s and early 2000s. I didn't know what was going on. For the second question.
So, but when you got in church, when you got to the church?
Yeah, I was ostracized in a couple of instances, because I don't stay quiet about what I struggle with. And I think that makes people uncomfortable. And I think that not only does it make people uncomfortable sometimes because they've never dealt with it and they don't know how to deal with it, and they don't know how to interact with me once they find out, and all these different things, but because they may be suffering from it. And sometimes when you expose something that you're dealing with and you're confident in exposing it, and giving God the glory for bringing you through it, it can sometimes make other people feel some type of way about what they're dealing with. And they're looking at you either like, well, how come I can't feel confident enough to share certain things? Or what can I do to not be this way? I don't want to be this way. I don't want to deal with this. It's like you're fighting the problem so hard that you're also fighting yourself. So in order to bring awareness, people just have to be more honest about how they feel. And yes, it's scary because people do treat you differently. I have had people come to me and talk to me and tell me, oh, well, this person said that you're crazy, and this person said you're crazy like this person, and blah, blah, blah. And then that person was a situation I was thinking about earlier. I liked this guy in the church, and someone that was close with the family came and told me that they were talking about me. The whole family was talking about me and were saying that I was crazy, like the person's ex, right? The person that came and told me ended up marrying the person that I had a crush
on. Jesus, be offense.
So,
things that make you go home.
It's just so interesting how people can take something that is a part of you that's a very personal part of you and use it as ammo in order to be able to facilitate things happening for them. And, and not everybody's going to be open and not everybody's going to be honest. Some people may be open in small groups. But for me, I know my personal calling, God has intended for me to never shut up about what I go through, because there's always somebody that's going to be able to be helped by me being honest. And I don't want to hold up someone else's deliverance because I'm being insecure about how people may see me. I have plenty of people that love me that I don't have to worry about who doesn't. I have plenty of people that support me that I don't have to worry about who doesn't. So once you can get out of your own head and not be so focused on how people are going to treat you, because some people are just, they don't know. That's why Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's just these people, that's all they know. And sometimes all they know is the very thing that breaks your heart. So you can't stay in that place. You have to move on.
Wow.
And it sounds kind of like blasé, like, well, you just got to move. No, you have to move on, because if you don't, you will die there. It's like being in the desert. You got to keep moving to try to find an oasis somewhere.
Just like being in the storm.
If you just stay there, you're gonna die there. So you have to move on. You have to go somewhere else and do something else and be something else in order to have something else.
Wow. 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 All I can say is wow about this conversation. I know we don't have that much time left, and I'm going to let our sister get to our sister segment. But before she does, I'm going to just share some of my experiences, which is basically I was listening to a message in the church. I was probably maybe about 12 or 13. And the man said, the preacher, he said that if someone has a mental breakdown or if they're in a crisis, it's their trust in God is off. And basically, I heard those things throughout my childhood, that if someone was experiencing certain mental dysfunctions or disabilities or things that they went through mentally, that they weren't trusting God enough to deliver them, or they weren't in their word enough, or they weren't praying enough. If you pray, you can't have the Holy Ghost and this. If you got this, you can't have that. So, and to answer the second part of the question, I would say now we are seeing where that type of teaching is not being taught, which I am happy about. Because even that same preacher, I went and heard him again, and he has a totally different mindset. Praise God. But I think there's a place in the church that requires growth. It's mandatory for our ministers, for our leaders, for even our lay members to grow. It's mandatory for us, even if you don't hold a position, to get in the word for yourself. It's mandatory for us to see that there was issues in the Bible when it came to this. There were things that happened, and we're not the first ones to experience it. It was going on then, it's going on now, it's going to continue because it's a part of life. And instead of preaching it away, fasting it away, praying it away, we have to seek God to know that he can use Jesus, like my sister said, and therapy, prayer and therapy. There has to be a healthy balance that comes in when we have these conversations. Thank you guys for joining us. Hey, I'm gonna let my sister, we are introducing a new segment, and I want to introduce her as we introduce this new segment. This new segment is where we're going to highlight one of our sisters. We have, one of our sisters who does prayer and affirmation. We have one of our sisters who is a pastor. We have another sister who is a coach, and she does some great, great, great things in money, finances, real estate. She is a guru. And we have another sister who is a health. So each time you hear us, we'll have that 5-minute segment where we'll be highlighting one of our giftings, one of the things that God has allowed us to be a master at. Take it away to my sister, Jessica, the neighborhood therapist, one of my favorite therapists, and she's going to give a sister segment.
All right. So again, as I said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm going to do a few minutes of mental health. I was debating on what to talk about. There's so much in mental health to talk about that I would love to talk about, that I would love to educate on. But sometimes we just got to start at the basics. So I want to give some information because that last little segment, we need to know we're not alone sometimes, like Pastor Seth said. So I'm going to give a couple statistics. This is off the NAMI website. That's NAMI.com. And they are the leading national mental health website. They have a lot of things on there, education, how to get involved, how to be an advocate. And so this is some information off their website. So these are the couple of things that I thought were very important to highlight. The average delay between onset of mental illness symptoms and treatment. So that's by the time that you realize something's not right or something's going on, and then getting treated, going to the therapist, going to the hospital, whatever, for mental health is 11 years. That's too long. It's too long for somebody to suffer in silence and nothing be done. And the annual treatment rates among U.S. adults with any mental health, I'm going to do the demographic of African Americans, that is 39.4%. Males, it's 40%. That's just any male. And then females, it's 51.7%. And then another big issue that we are looking at in today's world is insurance, right? People are like, well, I want help, but I don't have a way to get to it, pay for it. So insurance is a big thing. When I know sometimes as Black families, we don't understand why we have to have insurance. It's important to have insurance because 10.6 of U.S. adults with mental health issues had no insurance coverage. So by the time that 11 years goes by and you say, I want help, and you have no insurance, it's harming, right? And so we want to make sure that we're getting insurance. Even state insurance will help you cover therapy. Finding those free services in your area to help you cover that therapy. Let's see. This is statistics on how the ripple effect of mental illness affects individuals, families, and communities. So students aged 16 to 17 with mental health, emotional, or behavioral concerns are 3 times more likely to repeat a grade. And then, let's see. There's 600,000 hospitalizations each year due to from age 18 to 44 for psychosis spectrum and mood disorders in the state. Again, those are too high, right? I don't know why. I don't know the circumstances for that 600,000, but that's too high. That is too high. And so the next thing I want to talk about after talking about those statistics is just, okay, what if I'm at the place now where I've decided that I want to get help? What are some of the questions I should ask myself when I'm thinking about I want to get help, right? Or I've recognized that I might want to get help. So when you're thinking about your mental health, what is it, or whatever's going on in your life? Because seeing a therapist or other help does not mean you have a mental health issue. You may just be going through things in your life. There's a lot of stuff going on, deaths, whatever in your life that you just need somebody to talk to, get it out, those types of things. So deciding if a coach or actual therapist will be better for you. A coach is going to kind of just give you tools and techniques to help you manage what's going on in life. But a therapist is somebody who's going to work with you on a deeper level to kind of connect certain things that might have happened in your past that are going on now to present. And they can diagnose, right? A coach cannot diagnose. Not everybody goes to therapy to be diagnosed either, but they can do that. They're able to do that in certain assessments as well. So after you decide what is it that I want to accomplish, am I doing this for myself or to please someone else? Because if we're not going to therapy for ourselves sometimes we don't always get what we need out of it, or we think it's pointless, or we're not really ready to do the work. And then sometimes it's coming to think about, am I ready to take some accountability for my part in relationships that may have been caused by mental health? Because I tell people that come to therapy, the work is harder than the trauma, right? Because there are points in that trauma, depending on what the trauma is, correct, that, or later on, because of that trauma, that we have done actions that we may not be proud of, or it has affected another area of our life that we are going to have to take a look at and take some accountability for. And so being ready again to do that work, because therapy is work. We can come in there and talk and vent and things like that. That's great. But what is it that you really want to get out of it? It's a collaboration between you and the therapist. And then lastly, what type of therapist works best for you? Do you want a male? Do you want a female? Do you want somebody that's younger? Do you mind if they are older? Or, what would work best for you, so you can build the rapport to feel comfortable to express what you need to express and work through what you need to work through. So that's all I want to leave you with. Just remember, you're not alone. And that if you need help, please reach out to somebody. The National Suicide Hotline is 988. Or you can look up your crisis number in your area. But just remember that you're not alone, and somebody out there needs you. I need you. We love you. And you can have God and Jesus too. That is all.
And that was some good stuff. Good stuff, sis.
Thank you.
Yes, the work is harder than the trauma. Ooh, Jesus.
Can somebody type that in the comments? Type it in the comments. Type it down in the comments. Hashtag the neighborhood therapist dropping gems. Oh my gosh. This is the segment gonna be live. We see our producer has joined us, so we ready to hear from you. We thank you so much for all you do, keeping us on point, time-wise, keeping us on point, with everything behind the scenes. We love you, James. You the one.
I love you all too. You all, this has been an amazing episode tonight. We appreciate you all for tuning in with us. We'd invite you to tune in next week. Next week, we have another power-packed episode for you. However, next week, we got a little something different planned for you all next week. And next week, for the first time ever, the first episode ever, you will get the Godly View Soul Brothers. They will be coming on next week on the Godly View page, and it will be Pastor Gregory Divine, Mr. A.B. Bracewell, and yours truly will be on that show, as well as our executive producer will be none other than Coach Janine Lamb. So we are excited. We can't wait. We know that God has some great things in store for that episode. Y'all stay tuned. We're doing those things a little bit differently, but it's all going to be to uplift the kingdom of God. So you all stay rocking with us. Stay tuned to the podcast. It will drop tomorrow at midnight. So, as I always say as we close out, sometimes our disappointments are nothing more than God's appointments, meaning some things that we look at as bad, God is only turning it around for our good. Stay blessed, and be a blessing to someone else. We will see y'all again shortly. Peace.